Oh shit, there's somebody there. Go, Carla, go, go, go. Go.
Visiting abandoned buildings can be thrilling, but you never know what you might encounter inside. Today, we're sharing 5 chilling encounters in old, abandoned places that are guaranteed to leave you speechless. The footage of this story was uploaded to the YouTube channel Urbex Ontario in December of 2024. In it, an explorer named Owen enters an abandoned pet food factory deep in rural Michigan, expecting nothing more than a routine exploration, only to come face to face with something that forces him and his friends to flee for their lives. Owen is used to documenting forgotten places, but this time he wasn't wandering alone. A couple of friends accompanied him to navigate the massive, crumbling facility, but even before they got inside, trouble was already circling. A handful of security guards were actively patrolling the grounds. Still, by carefully moving between shadows and timing their steps, the group managed to slip inside undetected. For the next several minutes, the exploration felt normal. Dusty hallways, towering machinery, old conveyor systems, nothing out of the ordinary. But that calm didn't last for long.
Stairs and see what's over here. This place is massive.
They found a hidden room no one was supposed to find. As they moved toward the upper floors, the atmosphere changed. Echoes that didn't belong to them bounced through the building. Small noises drifted through the metal ducts above their heads. And then they discovered the source. Inside a section of ventilation, they found an improvised living space, cramped, messy, and deeply unsettling. Fresh flowers rested in a corner cup. A makeshift bed had been arranged out of old cushions. Tools, clothes, and food containers were scattered everywhere, and lying beside it all, a knife. Someone wasn't just passing through. Someone had been living there, even stranger. Near the wall, a flashlight clicked on by itself, casting the cramped chamber into an eerie glow. Owen and his friends immediately suspected a scrapper, someone who breaks into abandoned buildings to strip copper, wiring, and equipment to resell. The presence of power tools, wiring, and other supplies supported that theory, but the most worrying detail wasn't the mess. It was the dark tunnel leading deeper into the vents, a second entrance they hadn't noticed until now. Whoever owned this little hideout could come back at any moment. Still, curiosity kept them there. They sifted through books, batteries, even what looked like a walkie-talkie, trying to piece together who this person was. Then everything snapped.
What's that? What's that? What's that?
Go.
Oh shit, there's somebody there. Go, Carla, go, go, go. Go. Oh my god, there's somebody there. There's somebody there. Run, run, run. Get out, get out, get out. Oh shit, he's coming, he's coming, he's coming. Carla, run. Get out, get out, get out. Should we hide in this other
A loud bang erupted from the vent beyond the room. Then another, followed by footsteps. The group went silent, listening as the steps grew quicker, closer, like someone charging through the metal corridors straight toward them. And then they saw him. A man appeared in the shadows of the ductwork, moving fast. Panic took over. The explorers bolted, scrambling back through the cramped passages, tripping over debris as they shouted for each other to run. As soon as they reached the lower level, the same man appeared behind a window, pounding on the glass with violent force. They sprinted across the factory floor, the sound of footsteps and metal clattering behind them. The man wasn't yelling, but his pursuit was aggressive, relentless. Only after slipping into a separate warehouse and hiding behind a wall of pallets did the noise fade. They waited, frozen, praying he hadn't followed them inside. Eventually, the chase stopped. Shaken and breathless but unhurt, they stayed hidden until they were sure it was safe. Despite the terrifying encounter, they continued exploring, sticking to the areas farthest from the scrappers' hideout. For another 15 minutes, the building stayed quiet. Not a single sign of the man who had come after them. When they finally made their way out, they escaped without injury. But the reality of how close they came to danger hung heavy. One wrong turn. And that night could have ended in a way none of them were prepared for. What Owen and his friends faced in that abandoned pet food factory is the kind of real-life horror you don't forget. But sometimes, isolation can be just as terrifying as confrontation. Our next story takes us north, into the frozen wilderness of Ontario, where one explorer's overnight trip to an abandoned prison quickly turned into a fight for survival. In late 2019, explorer Brennan from the channel Uncharted Travels set out on what he thought would be a straightforward overnight trip. His destination was Camp Bison, a long-abandoned prison hidden deep in northern Ontario. The kind of place you can't simply drive to. After a 5-hour journey into the wilderness, he still had to hike another 2 hours through untouched forest just to reach its crumbling walls. Out there, miles from any help, the isolation wasn't just part of the experience, it was a real risk. If something went wrong, Brennan would be completely on his own. Still, he continued forward, eventually stepping inside the ruined complex.
About 6 hours north to an isolated prison in the middle of nowhere in Canada.
Brennan began with a full sweep of the building, checking for signs of squatters or wildlife, anything that might share the space with him. After exploring for about 15 minutes, he found no footprints, no fresh debris, nothing out of place. Satisfied, he set up camp in the old cafeteria on the ground floor. But when night fell, the mood changed sharply.
We're gonna leave camp. I want to see if I can show you guys or find an area that I didn't see well during the day. Let's hope I remember how to get out of here. My crappy tent. I can't wait to just put on some dry socks and go to bed.
After dinner, he grabbed his flashlight and decided to explore the prison again under the cover of darkness. The hallways felt different now, colder, heavier, alive in a way they hadn't been earlier. Then a sudden crash shattered the quiet. A single loud bang echoed through the corridor behind him. Brennan turned instantly, expecting to see something on the ground, but the hallway was empty. He tried to calm himself, assuming it was just the building reacting to the storm outside. He moved on, heading down to the basement. Nothing else happened there, and for a moment he thought the worst was over. He was wrong. On his way back to the cafeteria, a faint sound drifted from the far end of the hall. Not the wind, not water, something deliberate. He stood perfectly still, listening. The noise came again, soft, quick, like movement. Unsure whether someone was hiding inside the prison, Brennan followed the sound cautiously. But as soon as he got close, silence. Complete, unnatural silence. Knowing he might not be alone, and that anyone hiding in the prison would know it better than he did, he retreated to his tent for the night. But the building wasn't finished with him.
I keep hearing something outside. Sounds like it's in the corridor, one of the corridors. Maybe an animal, I don't know. Okay, let me get my shoes on. We're checking this out.
Minutes after entering his tent, new sounds erupted, heavier, closer, echoing through the cafeteria corridor. Brennan jumped back out to investigate, but once again found nothing. No footprints, no animals, no intruder. He went back to the tent, torn between trying to sleep or keeping watch. Exhaustion won. He zipped himself inside and turned off the light. Hours later, around 1:30 a.m., the real danger arrived. A deep growl pressed against the thin fabric of his tent. Then another. Brennan froze, realizing the growling was coming from a pack of coyotes circling him. Their pacing, their breathing, their snarls. He could hear all of it from just inches away. At one point, something slammed against the tent wall. Trapped inside, Brennan grabbed his knife and bear mace, speaking softly in an attempt to keep the animals from fully attacking. Running wasn't an option. The nearest road was 2 hours away through the forest, and the pack would outrun him instantly. The coyotes continued pacing, growling, and sniffing at the tent, clearly trying to figure out whether they could get inside. After a tense standoff, Brennan managed to scare them just long enough to escape the cafeteria. He sprinted up a staircase, reached the roof, and blocked the door behind him. But even there, the coyotes didn't leave immediately. They stayed below, searching for him, growling up through the metal vents. It wasn't until much later, closer to dawn, that the pack finally lost interest and slipped back into the woods.
The roof door so that they couldn't get up, which luckily held them off for the whole night. But then, as soon as I got my camp set up here, I heard them on the second story. They were looking for me. They were walking up and down the hallways, trying to find me, and I was trying to keep so quiet not to alert them or anything like that.
At first light, Brennan gathered his gear and got out of Camp Bison as quickly as possible. Later, he would describe the moment he realized the truth. Those animals weren't curious, and they weren't wandering. They were hunting. If you're enjoying these chilling adventures, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. Halloween usually brings out playful scares, but for Alex, creator of the exploration channel Vacant Haven, this year took an unexpectedly serious turn. He and his friends Ed, Ned, and Steve set out to film what they thought would be a goofy holiday special. Costumes, jokes, and a wander through an abandoned care home at the end of a lonely rural lane. But the moment they stepped off the main road, the tone shifted. The building didn't just look forgotten, it felt alert. The kind of place where the quiet seems to watch you.
Guys, how we doing? Happy Halloween. We are out trick-or-treating today. We've got Wolfman, Steve exploring within. We've got Ghostface, Ned, trick-or-treat guys. And we've got Mr. Pompo. That's freaky deaky, mate. Made quite a bit and we've got quite a few sweets and stuff. Well, it's a house down here apparently. It's quite spooky, isn't it? What? Yeah. Well, I've got in there. We've got a big house here. They might have loads of sweets. That's only fire.
Look at his nose, the light on his face.
Minute, we are just going to have a little walk around all together, see what we're dealing with. Oh yeah.
Another hater.
Bex. Bex.
Hey. What? In here.
The group tried to keep the mood light, teasing each other about their outfits as they filmed their walk toward the entrance. But once they reached the property, the darkness swallowed their flashlights, and the atmosphere lost any sense of humor. A hollow stillness clung to the place, as if the walls were waiting for something to disturb them. Inside, they stuck close together, trying to shake off the unsettling vibe. They joked about trick-or-treating for candy, but even their laughs sounded out of place. Alex mentioned that others who had investigated the building reported strange bangs and unexplained noises upstairs. Suddenly, the idea of ghost hunting didn't seem silly. It felt uncomfortably fitting. They pressed deeper into the care home, their footsteps echoing in long, empty corridors. The air grew heavier, their infrared cameras casting distorted halos over peeling paint and abandoned furniture. It wasn't fear that quieted them, it was caution. And then everything changed.
Stay here, all of you, don't move.
We're just filming.
Sit down, all of you now. Sit down! Sit down now!
Filming.
Sit down now! Okay, you've run your building. Sit down. Okay?
While filming near one of the main rooms, a sharp command split through the silence. Flashlights swept across the hallway. A uniform stepped into view. Before they could even process what was happening, the group was ordered to sit on the floor, hands visible, no sudden moves. Their Halloween costumes suddenly looked like a bad decision. Their cameras, once props for a fun video, now seemed like evidence. It wasn't a trespasser they'd stumbled upon. It was law enforcement, and they were not amused. The officer made it clear he hadn't been expecting company. The property, though abandoned, was monitored, and they were on the wrong side of the law without realizing it. He warned them that if he'd entered with his dog, the encounter might have ended very differently. The tension cracked only after the officers checked their gear and confirmed their story. Once they realized the group wasn't there to vandalize the place, the tone softened. A few jokes were exchanged, mostly about their costumes, which suddenly felt ridiculous in the context of being detained. But the relief didn't erase the shock. The close proximity of real danger lingered in the air. The officers escorted them off the property, chatting more casually as they walked. One even laughed that they had to stick around long enough to make sure the explorers didn't just run back to their car and drive off. Otherwise, the officers would look foolish for letting them go. When Alex and his friends finally stepped back onto the road, the care home loomed behind them in silence. No screams, no ghosts, no cinematic finale. Just an empty building and the heavy reminder that not all scares are supernatural. Some come from real people, real authority, and real consequences. For Vacant Haven, the Halloween special became something far different from what they had planned. And it leaves one lingering question. Was this encounter nothing more than bad timing? Or did the uneasy energy of that forgotten building play its own subtle part in pulling them inside? The night began like any other investigation for Dulcie Terror, the creator known for diving headfirst into abandoned institutions and the dark stories tucked inside their walls. This time, she arrived with her trusted cameraman, a close friend who had accompanied her through more than one unsettling journey. Their destination, an old maternal and children's hospital she had explored once before. But during that first visit, the morgue, sealed, untouched, and rumored to be the heart of the building's hauntings, had remained off limits. Tonight, for the first time, they were allowed in. The moment they stepped inside, the air seemed to thicken around them. The first rooms were little more than decaying storage, metal trays stacked neatly, dusty shelves lined with forgotten medical supplies. Yet the smell of moisture and chemicals clung to everything, settling in their lungs like a warning. And with each step deeper into the building, the world outside seemed to fade away. No wind, no traffic, not even the hum of electricity, just their footsteps and the wavering glow of Dulcie's flashlight. But the calm was not to be forever.
Que utilizaban antes.
When they entered what had once been the hospital's archives, the atmosphere flipped in an instant. The stillness became oppressive. The light dimmed, as though something unseen was weighing it down. Then came the sounds, soft, irregular, and horribly timed. Movements that didn't match their own. Dulcie traded a tense look with her cameraman. This wasn't the building settling. It felt like the building responding. What neither of them knew was that the real evidence had already been caught. Deep in the shadows behind them, the camera had recorded a faint silhouette, too tall and too still to be a trick of the light. Only later, after brightening the footage, would its shape finally become clear. But for now, unaware they were being watched, they pressed forward, and the deeper they went, the more the energy shifted. Quiet at first, then unmistakably deliberate. Whatever had appeared on camera, it was only the start. Medical equipment sat in place as if waiting for a shift that would never come. The corners of the room seemed to swallow the light. Then, from somewhere just beyond the beam of the camera, came a sound that derailed everything. A short, human-like cry. Soft, but impossible to misinterpret. Both Dulcie and her friend froze. In an empty morgue, nothing living should have made that noise. Looking for answers, Dulcie set up her night camera and began a careful spirit session. Her friend stepped back to film, keeping the wider room in his frame. Almost instantly, the field detector lit up. Not randomly, intentionally. Bright flashes, silence, then pulses that seemed timed with her questions, as though something invisible hovered near them, listening, then stepping closer. A pressure crept over the room, their skin prickled, the air tightened. Whatever lingered here wasn't drifting aimlessly. It was attentive, and it was inching forward.
Mira, son fotos. Ese es como un edificio.
The activity grew sharper with every minute. The detector spiked, then steadied, then spiked again. Each burst more urgent than the last. The intensity in the room thickened like fog. And then, in one final, deliberate surge, the detector answered the unspoken question neither of them dared to voice. They were not wanted there. Just as quickly as it had risen, everything fell silent. The air thinned, the heaviness receded. The entity, whatever it was, had made its point. Shaken, Dulcie and her cameraman packed their equipment and backed away from the morgue's doorway. As they stepped into the hall, one thought gnawed at them both. The hospital hadn't simply reacted to their presence. It had been waiting.
¿Te molesta nuestra presencia? Eso sí está raro. Activaron. Estuvo rojo.
Está muy activo.
Sí, sí, sí.
Nadie lo está tocando.
No, no, no. ¿Podrían prender al
After everything Dulcie and her cameraman experienced that night, after the cry, the shifting energy, the figure caught only on camera, do you believe they were truly alone inside that morgue? Because from a whispering presence, we move next to a school where the spirits don't just answer, they strike. The investigation began with Ray, the creator of La Ruta Oculta, returning once more to the old municipal cemetery in Chile. For weeks, his viewers had begged him not to go back there alone, so this time he brought 2 friends along for support. The moment they stepped inside, the night felt unnaturally cold. Festive seasons usually carried distant chatter or music from nearby streets, but not tonight. The cemetery sat under a blanket of total silence, the kind that settles over a place like a warning. To cover more ground, they decided to split up. Ray led the way down one of the main corridors, his flashlight barely piercing the thick darkness. The deeper he walked, the more the atmosphere shifted. Cold spots brushed past him like invisible drafts. Areas that should have echoed stayed eerily mute, and with every step, the sensation of being watched grew heavier, persistent, almost deliberate. When the 3 regrouped, they all described the same strange pressure in the air. Their device flickered now and then, giving only scattered responses, small bursts of activity that felt like incomplete messages, as if something was there but refusing to communicate fully. With no clear answers, only unease, they kept going, unaware that the night was about to turn genuinely terrifying. Then it happened.
¿Te rajaste? Tengo la wea, weón. Ven ahí. Pícale. Hay alguien, ¿Viste, no? No, cuenta.
A cry, thin, human, unmistakable, rose from somewhere among the graves. The 3 froze. Even the dogs outside the cemetery began barking wildly, reacting to something beyond their sight. The cry sounded again, clearer now, threading between the tombs like a voice calling from the dark. Fear hit them hard. They tried to head back toward the exit, but the pathways seemed twisted, unfamiliar. For a brief moment, it felt as if the cemetery itself was pulling them deeper. When they finally found their way back to a familiar stretch of walkway, they stopped dead. A figure stood at the far end, not moving, not speaking, just there, blocking the direction they needed to go. Even from a distance, the sight of it sent a shock through all 3 of them. Instinct took over. They ran. As they sprinted through the narrow corridors, the cemetery seemed to react behind them. Lights flickered, shadows shifted. Footsteps, or echoes, followed too closely. Only when they burst through the outer gate did the crushing tension begin to lift, but the question followed them long after they escaped. Who or what was that figure in the dark? If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new adventure into the unknown. And comment below, if you could explore one of these locations yourself, which would you choose? Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, some places are abandoned for a reason.